Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Gachiakuta Season 1, Episode 10. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up in the aftermath of everything last episode, and we didn't get to learn, we got to learn a little bit about Rimlin, but kind of got even more of Rimlin's personality. To be fair, Rimlin was like heartbroken for most of last episode, understandably, but we see how the very childlike, playful personality they've got. But apparently it seems like that's a common trait in particular for all the spellcasters here in Graffiti Town. This is it's a similar trait amongst all of them, because apparently God was the same way. And I love that, there's almost it's almost like a fourth wall break, but also not really. That just the in-universe thing of the mirror being because Engine's trying to wrap his head around how the whole thing works, because it's how, it passes from one person to the other, what are the similarities, what are the differences? Because the mirror was saying, for the most part, they have similar abilities, but based on the person, there's always subtle differences. And then Engine's maybe this and that, and then Rimlin tried to explain that basically it's no, we draw balloons when it's this type of drawing. We always include things in our art that includes some meaning to it. And every time Engine tried to wrap his mind around how it really operates, which I said, I think it's interesting. The mayor was don't do it. You're going to twist yourself into a knot trying to try to understand it as much. It's not clear cut. You drive yourself crazy trying to think. And I just thought that was kind of a fun, both in universe, but just in the case of Gachiakuta as a whole, don't think about it too much, because it's almost like a thing of there's not full logic behind it. It's more vibes. It's dude, it's a vibe thing. Don't try to read too much into it. I mean, it almost feels like it's befitting of an artist, because it's meant to be arts can be so subjective and abstract in a lot of ways. Trying to compartmentalize and conceptualize that in a very easy to understand thing is no, that's not how this works. It's not how this deal works. Because we find out that Rimlin's actually the sixth one of the spellcasters, because I think I brought that up. I was curious of what the history was, and even Engine, because the mayor was that we're aware of, and then Engine's well, how do you not know? He's well, there's no written records. Every artist, all they did was leave behind their art as as kind of almost a ledger of sorts. But it's even that's not foolproof. But so to their best guesstimation, Rimlin's the sixth person. But also Rimlin can do something maybe the others couldn't do, and maybe is unique to Rimlin, is that Rimlin doesn't just change the thing into a brush or whatever. They could also turn it into a needle gun for a tattoo. And it's whoa, what are you doing? It's wait, you can do that? It's yeah, I just thought to myself, tattooing would probably be easier. Any other form, it would just kind of get washed off, right? And it's yo, you about to tattoo me? It's all right, fine. But then kind of giggling to themselves when they're marking up Rudo. I mean, he already had to snap at him about yo, putting on that clown makeup on him. But yeah, ran himself a little dry, because putting the protection on a whole bunch of other people. So the protection is surviving one powerful hit, which I think that comes a little full circle by the end of the episode, because I'm that protection should have protected against that, but we don't know the circumstances related to it. So that we'll talk about it more later then, but there probably, and I think that was something I was wondering about too, those wards and stuff, the spells are very word specific. So it's and the intentions are very specific. So you can probably loophole your way around some of that, but like I said, we'll probably discuss that later. After getting their protective marks, their spells, they leave, and those guys who are outside are still there, saying oh, Rimlin doesn't deserve it. The reason why they're trying to come in is one guy's yo, I won the artist contest. There's a lot of people counting on me to come back, and having been appointed to new spellcaster. But then the mayor had to chew them out. It's just because you won, the fact is you can't even get in here proves that you aren't worthy. Because the fact is, you pieces of shit are just here for fame. You're not here for the true calling of what it means to be in that position. So skedaddle. And they just tails tucked between their legs, bounce, And so the crew says their goodbyes as they make their way. Well, first they were about to head back to headquarters, but then they have a stop by to pick up some utensils Rudo, and it's like, yeah, have your pick of the litter, and he's running through all of the garbage and being like, oh, this is kind of like garbage heaven for him. But at the tippity top, there's a TV, and the TV cuts on for a little bit, and then like on it you see like a fuzzy image of someone. It looks like it's the boss from the Raiders, but I never took a close enough look at his hands, even post that TV scene, because like he has gloves on too. That I was like, wait, is that what the series is? Are the series all gloves, or do they manifest? Because I saw the symbol on his back, and I assumed that was his vital instrument. But like, because there's also gloves, but that could have been someone else. But we do see later on when they're in Penta that the Jabber's looking, he's like, oh, so that's where they're at, and the boss is like, well, you'll find out when you get there. So I was like, is that how his thing works? That like maybe he can almost he uses TV, specifically TV static, as like a sort of crystal ball in a way. I wonder, is that what that's supposed to mean? Or, I mean, we don't know the full implementation of vital instruments. They could probably be utilized, like they can serve one purpose but probably be utilized in different ways, because that could be a functionality of his vital instrument and a power as a giver, but it's not the full nature and true nature of what it is. It's just like maybe a form of its nature. I hope I'm getting across what I'm trying to say. Because but not every ability is combat orientated. They can be to some degree, but I'm wondering what that's about. Because for it to interact, like it should be tied to one particular TV, because that's how the vital instrument works. So it's something that Rudo also brings up later on when there's basically the chokers. I never really bothered. I just thought like, oh, maybe it's an aesthetic thing, but the chokers are a communication device. Basically, when they go out, basically everyone that's on the squad puts their blood on someone else's choker so that they're all connected and communicate with each other no matter how far away from each other they are. That's how they always keep in touch. And even Rudo's like, yo, is this technology or is this some other giver ability? And I'm like, I don't know. Like the line between those two probably it's such a probably blurry Venn diagram in some cases of overlap between technology and giver ability. So I am curious. But when they're back at base, they end up running into August, who makes all their gear, in particular the faces. He's got Rudo's ready, and he's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I got Engine and Simu told me about your personality. I got your measurements while you were sleeping. Rudo, whoa. What do you mean? Wait, you got my measurements when I was asleep? It's almost like, don't worry about that. And even Rio's like, oh man, that's kind of pretty crazy considering Rudo doesn't really sleep much. So for you to catch him while you sleep, and even Zonka's like, Rio, how you know that? It's like, well, she snuck into his room last time. And so she probably knows pretty frequently. She probably, probably doesn't sleep much herself. So she notices that Rudo doesn't. I mean, maybe prior to her coming to his room, she probably already knew that, but I mean, he's in a foreign place, so probably even back home, he probably never slept great, but even more so here, he probably sleeps even less here on the ground. But either way, we also find out that August is Aisha's brother. So it's these two are siblings, complete opposite personality. He's the kooky, very extroverted, loud person, and she's a very self-conscious, meek, soft-spoken one. So one's a maker, one's a healer, interestingly enough. And I love Rudo's calling him out for his loudest. I think it's Zonka and Engine being like, well, you're one to talk about. Because he was talking about everyone being loud because, Delman is a very loud person too. But it's Rudo, you're a very loud person by nature too, so. But after getting Rudo's full face, they end up making their way to one of the no man lands, the Penta desert area. So this also answers a question I think I had last episode too. I was like, what are these the ecosystems of some of these environments are going to be? Obviously this one's a little more, but they were already in an area that was kind of more desert-esque. But this one's interesting because was it Tasmi came over and he was like, oh, sand, but he's like, no, it's more waste particles have been basically so worn down that they're nothing but like they borderline look like sand particles, even though it's not sand. So it kind of flows with like something in this environment like wears the trash down to the point that it basically turns to sand, which I'm like, interesting. And there's a whole bunch of scorpions. We get to see kind of what Tomei's like side of things is, and hers is like to jot down all the information about the trash beasts they come across, kind of understanding them and jotting down notes. And even Gris is bringing up like, yo, like wait until after the battle. She's like, yeah, but I mean, I kind of have to jump in and do my thing because like I don't know if I don't want to end up forgetting anything. And he's like, that's why, like, I mean, she's also saying, like, that's why you and the others are here to kind of protect me, so I don't have to worry about that. But this is kind of a showcase, and was it Delman and Tasman don't jump in. That's why I was like, I don't think they're part of, like, the attacker group. Like I said, they might be more defense or vanguard or rear guard, whereas, like, our four of Rudo, Rio, Engine, and Zanka are all, like, the main attackers. So everyone showcases a little bit. Rio cutting up a scene with her scissors. Same thing for Zonka. I love that, like him taking down that scorpion, just like almost putting almost like a dog collar on it, like with the staff like being around its mouth, and then like the spikes being injected inside of it. And then obviously Engine showing off with his Octo Shredder. But then there's the final one that Rudo handles himself. Get a better look at his format. I don't know what I expected. I wasn't expecting like the red, but I guess it's like it fits his, he's red hot personality wise. And I think also when you think about like how his giver abilities manifest himself in that red glove, feels very befitting. But I love that he pulls out a keyboard and he types stuff out. And he basically, like, they fire, like, little bullet missiles, and they land and kill the scorpion, and it spells out asshole on it. I was like, of course, you fucking edgelord, I love it. You angsty little edgelord, I love it. But what I thought was immediately interesting is, like, the moment Rudo activated his powers, this young woman or girl was immediately, like, like, something clicked where she could sense. Because everyone else had already been using their instruments and their powers. But it was specifically when Rudo started using his is when she reacted. And so when the fight was done, she immediately came over. Because at first Rudo was like, is that someone I'm seeing out there in the sand? And she approaches and she's like, oh, are you here to see, was it Amo? And they're like, wait, are you the girl that sees people come and go from spirit to the ground? And she's like, yeah, that's me. It's like interesting. She seems a little suspicious. She's even out and about without a mask on, but she's like, oh yeah, you'll be uncomfortable inside without your mask. It's like she's like, I made it. I came over here because it's such a short trip, and I'm like, what? Why would you still do that? I mean, once again, God made sense because he was just kind of like that guy where it's just like the world disappears when he's all about his art, willing to put his life on the line, just who he was. But like you, like you're here, maybe even live out here. Once again, who lives in a no man's land, but I'm like, that's suspicious and interesting. But even like Engine's like, oh, don't worry, like if she becomes a problem, we should all go, because he's like, out of anyone here, I'm the best at kind of holding back, so I'll be the one to tame, like be able to remedy whatever situation. And then immediately cutting to him being potentially defeated. We have no context for what happened, but this is what I was bringing up earlier, where I was like, he had that water coming out of his mouth, so I'm like, I wonder if she almost like a water bender, and does her power like allow her to like take the water? The human body's like over 70% water, so I was like, I don't know if that kind of had something to do with that. It might be framed a certain way, but then like we get to the scene and it's like, oh, it's not at all what we think it is. That seems like that could be just a red herring to make you think that, or it could be like, no, the scene is what it is. We're just finding out what led to that moment, because she has like this devilish smile on her face, but like there might be some kind of twisted game in here. Innocently enough, twisted in its own right, but from her perspective, innocent enough that she's doing, or there might be some malicious intent behind it, because Engine was like, right, she doesn't seem like she wants to harm us, so it might be innocent on her side of things. I just think it's going to be just kind of like, was that not last episode? The episode before last? Well, maybe that was episode 9. I can't remember. the whole thing at the where it's like, oh, it starts off one way and then you find out like, oh, like you open with Zonka and then it rewinds and you find out like, oh, when you get to that scene again in the episode, oh, it's like a jokey bit. So it could be the same thing for all we know. But it goes into what I was trying to bring up again, was like how I brought up earlier, like they're all supposed to have like protection from something deadly. So I'm like, is that just like, hey, he is protected from something that would have killed him? Or is it supposed to be like whatever she did can penetrate, maybe even erase the spell? Maybe the spell already like saved him once and that's him kind of getting hit with a second time. Or is it something that is like technically not like this fatal blow or whatever, so it technically subverts the it's a technicality and makes it a workaround for like the spell that was cast. We'll have to wait to see to get some context on what this is all about, who this person is, because she said Amo, so I'm like, was that another person? Because in that scene with Rudo, Engine, and her, we only saw her, so I wonder who's the Amo she's referencing. Not unless we find out she's connected to the Raiders and it's a pseudo a trap. I mean, but we know like Jabber as well as that other one, the one that has the kind of sewer manhole thing. I guess they're heading towards the Penta as well. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see next episode where all of this ends up taking us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.